América started off hot against Querétaro in the race for the Tetracampeonato. Atlas proved to be and continued to be a headache for Cruz Azul and for Anselmi, and much more in the Jornada Uno of the Clausura 2025 season. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo, and we're going to talk about all Liga MX this weekend, everything that went down, all the big headlines and score lines as well. Make sure before we get into everything, make sure you guys subscribe, follow, like, check out all the platform links down below. So let's pick up where we left off in Liga MX. America won the Tricampeonato. Now on the chase for that Tetracampeonato to make history. No Jardine on the bench. It was actually their under 23 coach that took over. I think Jardine and a lot of the first squad players are on vacation. Benjamin Mora, one of the three Mexican managers in this Liga MX season, is between him, Ucetich, and Gonzalo Pineda, the only three Mexican managers. It was his debut. Didn't start off very hot for Querétaro as they picked up a 1-0 loss at home against America. But for America, I think this was a very important win given that they were playing with all Mexican players. Even the substitutes that were brought on were young Mexican players. Most of the players were all from the canteras from America, under 23s for the most part. There was El Chiquito Sanchez, who started the game, actually came early from his vacation. Could have still been on vacation right now, but he decided to come back early. And he said in an interview after the match, he feels like he still needs to give more to the institution. And I mean, it was good to see him come back early, see him play and play well at that. Now, I know there's a lot of hate towards America, especially because, I mean, they've been dominating the league for the past few years. Obviously, the hardest part is to see them do it with a lot of extranjeros, but we also see now that they really don't necessarily need to rely on extranjeros. And I understand that it's not against the best side in Querétaro, but still be playing with a very young Mexican squad, a lot of them who were debuting in first division for the first time, still get a result. It's still pretty impressive, honestly. And there's no denying that the red card obviously conditioned the match as well, making it a little easier for America to break through Querétaro, which eventually happened. But this is not the hot start that Benjamin Mora was looking for in his debut with Querétaro. And as for America, this is the perfect start for the Tetracampeonato journey. Will they achieve it? You guys let me know in the comments. Now let's move to the border where Xolos and Toluca faced off in a heated match, probably the best match of the Jornada Uno, a 4-2 match where Xolos were on the losing end at home against a Toluca side who just ran rampant. Obviously, they are one of the best teams in Liga MX, no doubt, at least going forward. Defensively, we know they have some work to do, but maybe under Turco Mohamed in this new stint at Toluca, maybe he can provide something different. The previous manager wasn't able to instill into this team. As for Xolos, I think they need they need reinforcements at the back. I mean, the guys that they have right now is not going to be enough if they're going to challenge to even make it into Liga. We saw them struggle to barely get into Liga. I mean, they technically made it to the play-in, and that's pretty much it. Eliminated by America. But defensively, they need a lot of work, and they needed some reinforcements. Juan Carlos Osorio's came out in the press conference after saying that it was unacceptable to have 4 goals scored to them at home, and definitely if they want to aspire to more this coming season, they need at least 1 to 2 reinforcements in the defensive side of their game. Because moving forward, I mean, or going forward, they're a good team. They have their above average for sure in the league, and they scored 2 against a very good Toluca side. But defensively, that's where they need to work. But let's talk about Toluca for a second. Toluca, no Ache. I think that was the biggest transfer that happened within Liga MX, and for Toluca, obviously, as well. Achacha is going to be banned for the next 3 matches because of the suspension he picked up in MLS with the Houston Dynamo after he spit on an official or near an official. So, I mean, a very delicate situation for Achacha, for Toluca, but I don't think it's going to be all that impactful. I mean, coming in after a few matches, he'll be just fine and be able to maneuver perfectly into the team. But a player that I really want to highlight was Alexis Vega, who starts off on the right foot. We know Alexis Vega has had his trouble in his past with Chivas, couldn't really take up the responsibility and the role there. But here back at the Toluca, where things have always gone well for him at the club. He comes back. He did well last season. I think this season he could do even better than what he did last season. Still in his prime years, could possibly still make the jump to Europe if he really wants to, if he's really disciplined and motivated to do so. But I mean, in this first game, 2 goals and assist. It's the perfect way to start, especially with the World Cup just around the corner. He needs to be in hot form, and that's exactly what he's proving and showing in this match against Xolos. 2 goals, 1 assist. had a header, a volley, was everywhere inside of the box, around the box, creating plays. We know Alexis Vega is a talented, one of the most talented players in Liga MX. There's no doubt about that. And I'm pretty sure after the match, since he was in Tijuana, he went to Hong Kong after. So what a way to celebrate. What a match for Toluca, for Alexis Vega. They just need to work on their defensive frailties as well, just as much as Tijuana has to. Toluca just as well. But while I feel like the scoreline was a little bit dramatic, 4-2, probably could have been a little closer. By the 80th minute, it was barely 3-2. It was Paulinho that gave them that cushion lead in the 86th minute, I believe. But I mean, the game wasn't all in Toluca's favor. A lot of people saying that it was a blowout, a complete domination. Moving over to San Luis Potosí, where San Luis faced against Tigres. Tigres continuing where they left off. But when it comes to Liga, that's where they really need to fix things. We know that when it comes to the regular season, they're always going to sneak into Ligas. They're always going to be in the fourth, fifth spot. Typically, that's how it's been like in the past few seasons. As for San Luis, we knew that they were the underdog team and they made it to the semifinals last season, but they didn't get off to the start that they were looking for. I mean, at home they had done pretty well last season, but surprisingly against a Tigres side who hasn't really brought anyone exciting. It's kind of pretty much the same squad that they played with last season. Tigres still got the job done. San Luis really could. On a positive note for Tigres side, I think getting Linus on the score sheet is important, even though his goal was pretty much all luck. Important players obviously getting the score sheet as well. In Guido Pizarro, a beautiful header at that. And then Goriaran with the gorgeous volley outside of the box. Two set-piece plays, actually, that I think gave Tigres the win at the end. La Manche did get a goal for San Luis, but just wasn't enough for San Luis. But the biggest thing for this Tigres side is that if they want to be champions again, I know it's been a while since we've seen them lift up the trophy. They had those moments where they were just consistently on top of Liga MX. Right now, I think they're starting to decline, but that also falls onto the management of the aging players in the squad. Some of these players have to go. I'm looking at Guido Pizarro, André Pierre Guignac, who I know they've been important key pieces to this Tigres dynasty, but they are 38, 39, and not getting any younger. They're not in their prime anymore. They really shouldn't be there. They have to make way for a lot of younger players. I'm looking at Marcelo Flores, Lainez, Chicha Sanchez, Goriaran. There's so many players that have Nico Ibanez as well. They got to give players the opportunity and the confidence to step into the roles that these guys at in their prime were at, of course. Now let's jump over to Guadalajara, where Chivas faced against Santos. Chivas, a lot of drama in the back scene with player transfers, not being able to make it into Liga last year. A big institution like Chivas always have to be in Liga. Now that they have a new coach in Oscar Junyet, this may be the season. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they brought on a lot of players from Tapatio, a Tapatio side that did very well in Ascenso last season. I think this is the route they need to go through in order to have success in the first division. Well, in order to have success in Liga MX, they need to focus on player development. I mean, they brought in the likes of Hugo Cambreros, who was an important key piece in this game. Don Wilke, who also was important for Tapatio and now important in this match as well. And we'll talk about that. But that's what I firstly wanted to highlight is the youngsters from Tapatio that were brought into Oscar Junyent's side. And I think it's going to be really important for Chivas. I don't really see the need to sign big name players or bringing back players like Orbelin Pineda, who had their time here, bringing out players like Alan Pulido, who I think it is a great signing, but I mean, having 5 strikers is pretty excessive for a Chivas side. Another player that they were thinking of bringing was Luis Chavez, and just players that you really don't need. You have enough quality in the filiales. Focus on that. That's what I would say. And then bringing a player that doesn't even want to claim being Mexican and Lucas Romero. I just think there's a lot of controversy that really takes away from what they already have. So speaking on Cambreros, I think he was probably the best performers in the match, along with Piojo Alvarado, who's picking up where he left off last season before his injury. Cambreros taking on players, being very dynamic, very direct, and that's what you want to see from young players, especially debuting. You don't want to see them shy away from their 1v1s. You want to see them take on, be direct, not be scared. That's what this kid was. I loved it from a young Chivas player. He won the penalty. Piojo unfortunately missed, but also when it came to the goal that actually gave Chivas the win, Don Wilke, when he came on for Edgardo Marin, I mean, he was just as important. I mean, a lot of mobility, and there was that forward run that he made, Piojo Alvarado, a beautiful ball into Teon Wilke, who kind of falling, maybe a little bit of luck, but while he's falling, leaves the ball for Piojo to bury it into the net and give the win to Chivas over Santos. And as for Santos, I mean, it's a mess. Really, one of the worst teams in Liga MX of recent seasons. We know that they just brought in Tano Ortiz in the pan. They've only had maybe a few training sessions in the past 3-4 weeks, which is really what the preseason has been. Only a handful of weeks of training. I really don't know where Santos goes. They didn't bring anyone exciting as well. And I mean, during the whole match, there was nothing from the Santos team. It was literally all Chivas from possession standpoint, from creation of chances standpoint as well. Santos offered nothing this match. El Choco Lozano getting himself red carded just looks like the club is in shambles right now. Don't know what's going to happen there. Now let's jump to CEU, where Cruz Azul has inaugurated their home, I guess you could say, for this season. Not playing in Ciudad de los Deportes, not playing in CEU, the Pumas home stadium, if you guys didn't know, because they still are working on the Cruz Azul stadium. But Cruz Azul drawing with Atlas proving to still be a headache for Martin Anselmi. The only team that Martin Anselmi has not beaten in this Liga MX at all is Atlas. You know, they had a draw, I think, in the last Jornada last season. Now starting off, another draw in this season. So for Atlas, I guess it's a good record to have. Still have not reached that 1,000th defeat in Liga MX history. They're trying to postpone that as far as possible. As for Cruz Azul, wasn't too brilliant. Honestly, I think the first half was very good. They didn't take their chances. Second half was where Atlas just did whatever they wanted. Gonzalo Pineda, a man who we had the fortunate and the pleasure of having on this channel. Gonzalo Pineda, the current Atlas FC coach, the other Mexican that's also a one of the 3 Mexicans coaching Liga MX, had said in an interview with UNBEATEN that he wanted a team that was dominant with the ball. In the first half, we didn't see that. Second half, that was all Atlas. They were dominant with the ball, creating chances. They technically scored a second goal and could have been up 2-1, but just, minor offside. But they had their moments of brilliance, and that's what you want to see from an Atlas side, a side that not too long ago won a bicampeonato with a similar group of players. They let go of some important players. I'm looking at Hueso Reyes, for example, Julian Quiñones, who we know went to America, then went to Saudi Arabia. But I think they still have an exciting group of young talent that can still, at least make it to Liga. Now we jump to the last 2 games of Sunday, staying in CEU. Pumas with the win against Necaxa. A Necaxa team, honestly, that I thought was pretty exciting last season. I remember watching a game between them and America, and it was a draw at 1-1, and they were pretty much way better than America that whole match. But in this game, it was all Pumas. Pumas, who played with 5-6 Mexican players, a lot of youngsters as well. Jorge Rubalcaba, who got on the score sheet, scored the first goal. I think last season he was like iffy, not starting some games, starting other games. But this season seems like he's going to be an important piece. We saw him breaking the lines, running in behind defenders, and 1v1 with the goalkeeper, and we saw his finishing as well, getting that first goal for Pumas. The second goal only a few minutes after, and then you thought it was going to be a goleada, honestly, at that point. But, Necaxa eventually, they found their feet. They got a goal back in the second half, but that's pretty much how the game ended. Not too much drama there, but a good win for Pumas nonetheless. Pumas need to get their stuff together. They let go of some important players like Chino Huerta, like Julio Gonzalez, and the second-string goalkeeper, bringing in a guy like Alex Padilla as well. I think they have a lot of talent. They just need to be able to work well with this talent that they have. And Pumas can easily be one of the underdogs of the season, along with Atlas, along with San Luis. I think Pumas could definitely be up there. I know they made it into Liga last season, but didn't really offer much after the cuartos. But this season could be different for Pumas. And lastly, we go to the subcampeón in Monterrey, where they faced off against Puebla in a 1-1 draw, which was unimpressive from both sides. Monterrey, very similar to what we saw in the final, just very lackluster, no consistency whatsoever. Defensively, somewhat iffy. But I think the most worrying part is the consistency. Is in front of goal, creating a few chances but not being able to put them away. They got the first goal from Corcho Rodriguez, a banger from like 30 yards. But other than that, I can't even think about important pieces of play that could have made it 2-0, possibly even 3-0. Puebla had their chances in the second half. But also from them, I'm not expecting too much from this Puebla squad either. I think probably the best thing about this Puebla team were those yellow jerseys. Where typically a team with yellow jerseys is not my favorite, but I really like this jersey. I don't know why. So, in what seemed to be an easy 1-0 win for Monterrey in the last 5-6 minutes of the match, Puebla tie it 1-1. What's going to happen to Monterrey? What's going to happen to the Michelis if they don't even qualify to Liguilla? I think they will. They have to, because I already predicted that they're going to be the winners of this Clausura. So I'm rooting for them to make it all the way. I think they can, but also I can also see them failing just early on. Can they make it to the final again? You guys let me know. Based off of this start, obviously I don't think so, but I'm going to support them. We have a whole season ahead of us, so we'll see what happens with Monterrey. But thank you guys for listening in. Make sure to subscribe, check out all the platform links down below. If you guys want to see more Liga MX content, make sure to comment. Let's have a conversation. I always respond. Thank you guys for supporting. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.